Hey everybody, welcome back to Your Free TV. It is Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025. Back with you here again with the news. I'll jump in with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution protecting free speech, as well as the Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence, hatred, or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal, medical, or financial advice, and there are further disclaimers in the description below. So glad to be back with you today. We have got tons of news, and we're going to jump in. I always start by saying thank you. Thank you, Diana, for the donation, keeping the channel going, and everybody supporting monthly. You make it happen, and I'm so, so thankful. And with that, we'll put on the glasses because we have so much incredibly good news, but we also have the dire issue of World War III continually trying to be set off by the EU NATO cabal out of MI6, Pilgrim Society, Five Eyes, all of it, through the proxy of Ukraine, to continuously poke the bear. And of course, what do we have after the abrupt peace talks yesterday in Istanbul with the presentation to Ukraine of what you must do is immediately elections in the presidential elections and parliament elections. And of course, what happened this morning is we get the blowing up of the bridge in Crimea. And this is, of course, just constant escalation. We know that there was the explosives used in that bridge were made in the USA. And so it's not implicating specifically the USA, but of course, we have that CIA Russia House contingent. We're going to jump into all of that. Still crickets from the White House, no stance from Trump on what's going on. So we know that means something major is going on. So we'll jump in, but I want to talk about a few good news things first, because it is important to talk about them. Actually, got to clean the glasses. But I want to talk about first, I think that a great action that we all should be taking is calling our senators and congresspeople to tell them we don't want World War III. We want the White House to come out with a stern statement about what Ukraine is doing. As I've been saying on this channel, immediate pause to the Starlink capabilities in Ukraine, immediate pause of funding to NATO while this is being figured out. And we've got, of course, Putin being very staid, basically saying we are going to get to the bottom of who is doing this, proxy attacks on our nuclear capabilities. And the reason that Putin updated his nuclear doctrine in Russia last November, of course, right after the elections, was because right at that time, there was also an attack on nuclear installations in Russia that went total crickets, no reporting. And so Putin came out and said, hey, you kill me, there's going to be a nuclear response. You attack our nuclear triad, there'll be a nuclear response. If we have a massive aerial assault on Russia, there will be a nuclear response. He has not responded, of course, as yet. And I don't believe that there will be a nuclear response. I believe there's going to be a thing that we are waiting for, which is the taking down of the EU NATO cabal, the Five Eyes intelligence behind this, etc. But as I said, a great thing to do would be call 202-225-2777 to Mike Johnson to make it known to him that we want no World War III. We want immediately stand down here from the White House saying that this is absolutely not from the USA, that we are not doing this, and also the same with the Senate, 202-224-3121 for the Senate, and call your congresspeople as well, 202-225-3121. But, you know, I think a show of people doing that is really important. Those calls make a difference. You don't think they do, but they do. They really, really do. The unprecedented amount of engagement by the American people happening right now has a huge effect. Even though we're facing the ongoing massive deep state cartel Babylon players that are still lurking, even though we did get SCOTUS, Supreme Court did grant Trump the authority to remove all heads of federal agencies. that coming through late yesterday. And this is very, very important because it really gives the executive, defined by Article 2, to basically control the federal agencies, which of course it should be. And so let's hope there's a major purge that goes on here, as they've done with the NSC, National Security Council, and the melee that has come on here with the timing of letting go this massive attack on Russia, Tist style rather than warfare style. What we have Putin doing is this war of attrition, basically against Ukraine, where he consistently holds back and basically is trying to wear out their manpower. Basically, there's only so many soldiers who can be killed. And without the EU giving soldiers, or the USA, besides all the unknown, unspoken about mercenaries, they will run out of soldiers. And that's what Putin has been doing. Basically, just wear them out. And on MSM and all these, Jack Keane on Fox News and whatever, they're saying, oh, they were so dumb. Let this happen. These battles are so amazing. No, Putin is not doing things on battle strategy. He's doing it on this war of attrition. Jack Posobiec did a great analysis of this today, and it's just about wearing them out. And so we're going to continue to hope that there's going to be a lot of that still going on. But I'll get into that in a moment. But I want to start with some good news here, even though we're still already at 6 minutes. Oh, and before I do, the EU, of course, came out today as they blow up the bridge in Crimea, that they're saying, oh, no, by 2032, we will give 3.5% of our GDP to fund NATO defense. So yeah, in 7 years, we'll get up to 3.5%, right? Trying to bait the hook there for Trump not to act against NATO, and hopefully that won't work. So, but the good news. Okay, let's start with a couple good news things. We have this great thing coming up on June 14th, which is, of course, Trump's birthday. That's 11 days away. And Trump, of course, the Trump administration, and Monica Crowley being the ambassador for these official events, they have planned a huge major day in DC on June 14th. We kind of wish we had that Golden Dome already to protect DC at this point, because they're going to have a huge event to basically kind of kick off the 250th anniversary of the United States, but also the 250th anniversary of the Army. And that's on Trump's birthday. And I like that he did that. He certainly deserves it, to be a massive celebration on his birthday. This will be going on all day, starting in the morning, I believe, like 8 a.m., with the Army doing a fitness competition there. This is all going to be on Constitution Avenue for later in the day for the parade. Huge Army military parade. They're going to be showing armaments way back from the Revolutionary War. Very exciting, talking about the creation of the Army coming out of the Revolutionary War. And basically, it's going to be an incredible event. If you want to go, can get to DC, you can go to America250.org. America250.org. You have to register to get free tickets to go. It gives you all the instructions, how to do, where to go, all this. The parade will be on Constitution Ave, I believe, starting around 15th Street. And this is basically where I think from 6 p.m. to about 10 p.m., the whole parade thing ending with fireworks and huge amounts of greatness going on there. And it just, it sounds amazing. And one of the things that's going to be happening there is that President Trump will be enlisting, or basically presiding over the enlistment, I believe, of 250 soldiers into the U.S. Army. So it's going to be an incredible time. And these celebrations are going to be going huge, of course, all the whole year wide. Where, of course, next year there'll be huge celebrations in Boston, New York, Philadelphia, DC, basically focusing on the areas that were the start at the creation of the country with the Revolutionary War. So it'll be very exciting to see. And so we're going to jump in about the Russia stuff in a moment. But I want to talk about a few things here. We had, of course, in Gaza, we have the situation where 27 people were shot dead by the IDF in Gaza. And this is as they were doing food distribution. And what's very interesting about this is that the food distribution has been commandeered by a group called Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. And I've kind of tried to loosely see some connections with HIAS, the Hebrew Immigration Aid Society Foundation that Mayorkas was so involved with. They're still making tons of money, pretending to give food out. They've given like 15,000 meals out, but basically most of it's all like refugee stuff that they're still grifting on. But this Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is based in Delaware, was only created in February of 2025. It's backed by Israel, but supposedly is Mike Huckabee ambassador here in the US. This isn't the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews that I talked about in my other video. No, no, no. This is a Gaza Humanitarian Foundation that is basically being state run by Israel to give the food to the Gazans who are starving. Okay, it's basically using food as a weapon here, as they shot dead yesterday 27 Gazans as people were rushing to get this food. They've only gotten food to about 2% of the Gazans, and this has dominated the scene here. So this was started in Delaware just in February. Okay, the whole board of this organization is secret. The board members are secret. The funding, they're getting about $140 million per month, but we can't really figure out where it's coming from. And it looks like this is all designed of where they're setting out the food, okay, to lure in, St. Patrick's style, right? They're luring in people to come get this food in these areas where they're basically, it looks like trying to corral them in order to get ready to relocate them. Okay, so it's all very dodgy, using food as a weapon. The director originally was Jake Wood, and he is a former Marine who started something called Rubicon Disaster Relief. And he quit in May because he said basically this is being like food as a weapon. This is like not humanitarian, what's going on here. And so, that's what's happening here with this Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. And so, yeah, they shot 27 people, okay, who were coming to get food at this distribution in Rafah. I think it was in Rafah. They've only disseminated, barely, less than 20,000 meals. It's been a disaster. Okay. And so when we look at it, what's going on here, we have the situation of now, originally it was developed by a CIA retired operative called Philip Riley, something called Safe Reach Solutions. Okay, and this has just basically devolved into being a weapon of the Israeli IDF, who is shooting people going to get food. So we have this ongoing thing. We know Trump has been trying to get Libya to take the Gazans, and this is, this is a problem. This is a problem. We'll continue to report on it as we go. Okay, so we also have, of course, the Ed Martin has announced that there's an official investigation now into the auto pen gate or whatever, into the massive treasonous fraud that is the Biden government, finding who is controlling the auto pen. They all keep putting it out towards Anthony Bernal, who is Jill Biden's chief of staff, was known him for 16 years, basically practically living with her, attending every event, going to the house in Rehoboth Beach, always with the Bidens and with her. And he has, of course, multiple complaints about him for sexual harassment against young staffers, males. I guess he's gay. And I still think this is a flip up situation. If they can get Bernal, that there will be the flipping up. And we get to the chiefs of staff. I think Jeff Reince still has a lot to talk about. Blinken at all. Okay. Let's talk about the higher ups, Pelosi, Schumer, for entertainment purposes only, of course. And so when we look at this, we're having this question of 37 death row inmates who were pardoned to basically not pardoned their whole sentence, but basically commuted to be life in prison. There's all wonders about pay for play. Were these bought? The pay for play situation here is really huge. That there is this selling of Biden's pardons or commutations was happening by the people in charge of the pen. And so Ed Martin, the great Ed Martin, in charge of this weaponization of government task force, is announcing the investigation has launched. Of course, it's not till the 18th that we'll actually see these aides and assistants come in to testify before Congress, because that's our Congress. They are slow and they basically suck. Okay, as we see by the big beautiful bill situation, that is just a disaster. And maybe I'll just jump into that now about Axios and Musk. We know that Musk came out, has been, going full bore. Oh, the funding bill is atrocious, filled with every pork you can imagine, and we know it's true. It's true. It's 100% true, and it's not what I want to be happening with our spending bill. We had Luna, before I get into Musk, great reporting by Axios today, but we have Luna, Representative Luna, coming out of Florida. She's saying that with the bill, that there is the House Rules Committee has refused to bring codifying the Doge cuts to the floor, okay, this week. And that was really a huge contention for people who were being negotiated to vote for the bill. They're like, well, let's codify the Doge cuts. And that's what we saw. There's going to be Doge cuts, there's going to be rescissions, there's going to be clawbacks, there's going to be impoundments coming down the road, right? That was the promise. But they can't even codify the Doge cuts before the big beautiful bill situation. So they're saying, oh, next week. And so what Luna is saying, me, MTG, Massey et al., we won't be voting. We'll vote no on every rule if it doesn't happen that not only the Doge cuts come to be presented on the House, but that we also get Trump's executive orders to get codified as well. Because we're looking at this big beautiful bill, and Trump is constantly just being Trump, saying, "Oh, the big beautiful bill," and we know it's filled with awful, like the AI. That the states have to give up all ability to that they can't regulate AI in the states, and that federal federal operations in the states will all be AI run. That they can't interrupt that. All kinds of stuff. They can't regulate AI in the states. Bogus, awful things that get into, of course, the bioweapon medical control realm that we'll get into as well in this video. But when we look at this, it is extremely disturbing. And we also have to understand Trump's in this huge pickle. So we've got the massive World War III threat, right? We have the banksters, the BlackRock's, Vanguards et al., who were all, by the way, receiving huge loads of money from USAID. Vanguard, BlackRock, of course, the National Institute for Democracy, all from USAID. And that's one thing I will thank Elon Musk for, is the exposure of USAID and the gutting of that. And but yet, can we codify the gutting of it? Can we get it done? And understandable that he's disgusted, but there's reasons he's disgusted that are personal and business related, which we'll get into in a moment. But as we look at Trump in this pickle, he's trying to save this country. And they need money, right, to do it, because you can't grow the economy overnight with the trillions of dollars coming in to invest. Yes, it's dodgy. Where's it going? Trump's going to build out a trade school infrastructure. That'd be great. Those are jobs that AI can't interrupt, right? We all need plumbers. We all need people with hands-on electricians. We need people that come into our houses and do the jobs that AI cannot do on the regular in real life. And so the trade schools, not only for, tech, engineering, and all that, but no, how about things like there's this great woman, let me see if I can find that real quick, who's doing a really cool summer program that I wanted to mention here. I didn't expect to, but I just remembered it and I want to. Who's doing a great summer program, sorry, called Heavy Metal Summer Experience. Heavy Metal Summer Experience. And her name is Angie Simon. She's the director, and she's basically taking people from inner city and less, privileged areas, and basically saying, let's get into the trades, check out the Heavy Metal Summer Experience, where they're learning to weld, they're learning to do all kinds of great things to do with trade. And that's what we need more of. And a ton of that money should be going to these programs. So that's what we're hoping and praying for. And we'll see what happens. And so moving from there, I just want to mention South Korea is looking like it's gone. Okay. The massive stealing, there's tons and tons. People reporting, just stacks and stacks of unfolded, printed out ballots already, computer imaged, done, already have the seal on it. Huawei's controlling it all. Lee is going to take it, and this is a huge threat, because what we have is, even though Hegseth said they have no plans to diminish troops in South Korea, if Lee wins and the CCP steals the election in South Korea, this is massive. This is 75 years since the Korean War, and the situation of the stronghold of the USA in South Korea. And Lee is aligned with North Korea, while being a liberal progressive, of course, with all of the liberal progressive stuff, all the LGBTQ, blah, 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 all the propaganda of the CCP in there. And they're stealing the election right now as I'm doing this video. And it's really, really disturbing, because regardless of what Hegseth says, Secretary of Defense, basically what we have, if Lee gets in, it's very likely that he will terminate the treaties with the USA and basically demand that USA leave South Korea. That's where we're at. This is huge. Of course, Hegseth has also warned that Taiwan, these, what the CCP is doing, these aren't drills, it's not practice, this is preparation for going into Taiwan. These have huge, massive detrimental effects on the USA with, of course, everything chip, everything technology. We're in this gap. Okay, and Trump, basically the big beautiful bill, and why he's saying, he's like, we need money right now, because we have to survive basically for the next year and a half, 18 months, where we're getting all of this incredible investment and the building of infrastructure and the reshoring of manufacturing. All of this takes time. We need some time. And so you can understand it. All right, he's attacking Rand Paul. Oh, he's a loser, all this. The people of Kentucky love Rand Paul. They love Massey. However, we do have this issue, and it's true. And so the raising of the debt ceiling, yes, it's awful. The big banksters are ganging up to basically to totally go against the USA in every way possible. There's something like trillions of dollars in unreported debt assets that they're holding, and at any time all that could be pulled, and we've got the bond market crashing. It's just a huge issue, and we're at this precipice. So how could there be, is there, one of the problems is how Congress works and the timing, okay, of their terms and their periods where they're actually doing any work, and how this all just gets floated along. And Trump saying, hey, if we can't fund stuff, we're going to have no country, because these trade deals are all on the line. They're all on the line. They're saying, yes, by July, early July, we should have many of them completed. But, what do we have with Europe? Oh, van der Leyen, wait till July 10th. because we're going to have, World War III sparked off before then, right? And so it's an intense time, right? And so then we get, of course, today, Musk coming out and doing a huge rant against the big beautiful bill, and it is filled with disgusting things, and they always have been. Okay, they always have been. And so what basically came out through Axios and Mark Caputo is he said he spoke with Trump. Excuse me, he spoke with Musk, he spoke with Trump, he spoke with others. But he said there's four things that actually are behind Musk's huge being so mad about the bill and what he didn't get that he wanted. And he said, basically, Musk said, "Oh, it's so full of pork, I can't take it anymore. It's awful," kind of thing. And one thing that's interesting about that is that Musk had his own pork in there that he really wanted. And one of them was he really wanted that EV bill tax credit to continue. He wanted that tax credit because for Tesla. And of course, because Tesla's taken a huge hit since his actions in Doge. And so Trump was like, "We're not doing it. We can't. We can't keep giving money to this failing industry that is anti-American. It's anti-car industry here in the United States. Plus, it is a lie, and the carbon net zero bullshit. It has to go." And so he didn't get that, even though he lobbied hard for it, paid a lot of money lobbying. And then, of course, Musk also wanted Starlink to be hugely involved in the FAA, revamp, right? And so you get Duffy saying, no, we can't have Starlink be in charge of the federal aviation, situation here, because we absolutely need fiber optics in this. We can't control everything by satellites. It's not possible. It won't work. And so we can't have Starlink be the number one player here. And also that Musk, what Mark Caputo out of Axios is saying is that Musk also wanted to stay longer in the White House as an employee. But there was a lot of trouble going on because of all this kind of lobbying for his own stuff. He also, it seems like the final blow was Trump the other day, right before, he blew up on the, after Musk put out this today, right time specifically for when Carolyn Leavitt was going to do her press release, where Musk is saying, I can't take it anymore. This bill is awful, all of that. It was the exact time that Carolyn Leavitt was going on to do her press release. Her presser for everybody. So she had to face those questions about Musk. But his last blow, it seems, had to do with the NASA administrator nominee, Jared Isaacman, being taken down by Trump yesterday, or yesterday, the night before, where he basically said, I'm taking out Jared Isaacman to do with things from his past actions and things he said. He's not trustworthy for me, for this administration, to carry out my agenda. I'm taking out Jared Isaacman for the position of NASA administrator. And this was a huge Musk ally, and also somebody who had really, really wanted in, because he wanted SpaceX to get, of course, major ups there. So this was, in Trump's vision, kind of conflict of interest, not what could happen. And so those seem to be the things. And there was huge, of course, issues with Besant and Musk about the tariffs. And I guess Trump also found out that Musk was calling CEOs of various huge companies, right? And in your hedge funds and your BlackRocks and your this, basically saying that they had to fight the tariffs. Okay. So that's massive. That's massive. And undermining Besant, Navarro, et cetera, Hassett, about the tariffs. And of course, that's because of Musk's huge operations with the CCP and also the EU, Germany. And so there we go. There's that. And the CCP is now landing rockets. And the CCP, very much SpaceX style, as I mentioned yesterday, something like $25 trillion in stolen intellectual property by the CCP, and Musk, to do business in the CCP in China, has to basically give over his technology. So it is what it is, and that's what it is. And so I wanted to mention that the CCP, speaking of it, while stealing South Korea right now, they also did something over the weekend. We had an announcement over the weekend from MSM that there was, we're going to see the Aurora Borealis, and you might see some really interesting things in the sky and all of this. And what it ended up being was the CCP dumped a huge rocket fuel. The CCP has been doing these satellite dogfight experiments, and this is in response to Trump with the Golden Dome. And as people have come out reporting that there could be a huge decoys to fight this Golden Dome thing, used to throw it off track. The CCP has been doing these huge experiments with dogfights of satellites. Okay, and they dumped a massive fuel dump over 7 U.S. states over the weekend, Saturday morning. And it created this huge, like, rainbow toxic arc, okay? And it was mostly visible in Colorado and New Mexico. And that's what the MSM was trying to cover up. And that's what we're facing, okay, with the CCP and the cover-up of the CCP here in our bought-off, paid-for mainstream media and our operatives. And speaking of operatives, will we, speaking of Russia, which we're going to get into in one moment, but I want to talk about one thing first, even though there's so many things I want to talk about. But, Lindsey Graham, okay, Blumenthal, okay, these people need to be immediately brought in for questioning of what they were doing in Ukraine, unless we find out differently. And what we know is that they were there, okay, right as this operation launched, and we need to find out what they know, what they were doing there, and crickets, we're still waiting to find out. So we're almost there to Russia in a moment, but I want to talk about this, and this is coming out today. Huge delay, a win because of massive outcry of traditional Catholics, where, of course, we have the new Pope Leo, right? Who is, of course, is Francis on steroids, meant to bring in this, the ongoing destruction of the Catholic laity. He will change the church into, his satanic beast form, but the Catholic laity is what he wants to destroy. And he has been, of course, empowering bishops to take down the Latin Mass. And there is a basically edict in the Vatican where they're saying by October 2nd, we're going to massively, massively limit Latin Mass. And what people like Liz Yore are saying at yourchildren.com, other places, Liz Yore, is that with her experience with exorcists, and as a very involved Catholic working in these realms, she said the exorcists all say that the devil is afraid of Latin. Okay, the Latin is the tool to fight the devil, and the Vatican wants to get rid of Latin because they know that it is a massive weapon. It is a sword against the devil, and these Latin masses are so important, and especially for Hispanic or Latino Americans. Okay, they want this Latin Mass, so it's a very interesting, interesting situation with traditional Catholics. And what we had today was the pausing of who is Bishop Michael Martin. I've talked about him several videos ago, where he was going really hardcore against the Charlotte, North Carolina community, who have a huge Latin Mass contingent, and he was trying to shut down the Latin Mass churches and basically put them out in some rural area in this tiny church where they could only have Latin Mass like once a month or something. Why do these people even listen to them? Why? Because in the CCP, in the agreement, in the $4 billion a year, 2, 4, who knows, that they pay to the Vatican to be able to completely arrest, disappear, and place in their own bishops, and completely just, totally harass and truly, truly tyrannize the Catholics in China, because that is the threat here, right? We're going to go after you, right? That the Biden administration, we're going to go after you if you don't do what the Vatican says you're going to do. It used to be just the CCP saying that to the Chinese Catholics. Now we're having good old Pope Leo Prevost, right? The fake lion, ushering in the Antichrist as quickly as possible. They're basically saying that, okay, to the American people, we're getting rid of Latin Mass, and you go against us, what are they going to weaponize, right? This Jesuit army, there's going to be, they were doing it through the Biden IRS and the Biden DOJ. That's ended, and we have, of course, the task force and the DOJ to go against. Mostly they're going against, of course, anti-Semitism, but they basically have said we're also going against, we're going out to stop any of this persecution of Christians. We have yet to see any reports on that. We have yet to see anything, a million reports on how they're combating anti-Semitism, but, kind of goose egg on what they're doing to stop the persecution of Christians here or anywhere else in the world. However, we did have a pause by Bishop Michael Martin, where he has said that he will wait till the October 2nd deadline to crush the Latin Mass in Charlotte, North Carolina. And basically, I want to say, hey, call to action. If you are Catholic or you are a Christian who this speaks to you and you can do constructive criticism, then you might want to call the Charlotte Diocese in the bishop's office. You might want to, and here's the number: 704-379-6299. 704-379-6299, Bishop Michael Martin's office. Okay, give it a go, because yeah. All right, and so let's jump into the Russia stuff, even though I could go on and on about so much else. Okay, before I do, I know it's 37 minutes. I promise, Russia's coming. But the situation at the FDA, okay, we now have the FDA. We know they just put in the new Spike X, the Spike Vax, the FDA just kind of screwed us, okay, under RFK's watch by okaying, all right, the mNext Spike Moderna COVID shot, right? 1/5 a dose of something probably more deadly. And they did it with no placebo trials whatsoever. And what is the one thing that RFK Jr. really, really promised was there would be no drugs coming forth, especially to do with COVID or vaccines, that weren't placebo trial tested. And what do we have? Oh, we have this. And this is right as the AI called Elsa, and we get Palantir now deep in the HHS, and Deborah Birx on the top of the federal federal advisory board of Palantir, working deep in here with national medical issues. And at the FDA, Robert Califf is praising their new AI system, okay, and this is called Elsa, and this is the Efficient Lifecycle Efficiency Agent, and it's supposed to replace 80% of employees at the CDC and the FDA, okay. There's something fishy here going on. There's some problems, okay, in your HHS, Kennedy. So, Bobby, what are you doing? What's going on? We're having Elsa now taking over the FDA and the CDC. Basically, the jobs of Elsa are to fast track drug approval, okay? And people are worried about the unaccountability and the targeting through the FDA of this AI that can be programmed to target anybody, of course, doing healthy, great medicine that they're putting out to help cure people, okay, and heal people. So it is, seen as a move from science to surveillance, And so we have this problem, and we will link it below. So moving on to Russia here is really the fact that cricket's out of the White House. We have Putin very staid, very calm, and saying we'll find out who did this, what happened, where it's coming from, and we have, um, you know, still Trump suspend Starlink, pause NATO funding. But as we look at this, we're seeing, of course, the possibility of the Doomsday Protocol, the nuclear subs with their dirty tsunamis that they have with the Trident missiles in these Doomsday subs that have 100 megaton bombs that can just create these massive tsunamis off the coasts. That are filled with radioactive material, all of that. But basically, the situation here is I believe being totally crickets, because it is the looking into how does Trump handle what is rolling out here with the attempt to create World War III, and then again today with the Crimea attack, and the USA not being read in on it, or Trump not being read in, and what's going on there. We have Donald Tusk in Poland, who's the prime minister, who used to be the EU commissioner. He's totally was convicted of money laundering back in the day. I've reported on him for the last couple of years, trying to get a no confidence vote on, of course, the new wonderful, awesome POTUS of Poland. And there's all kinds of machinations here of the EU fighting back, trying to buy time. And Trump is buying a little time here, seeing what Putin is going to do. And basically, I think they're probably making decisions together, as much as people want to say, oh, Trump didn't know about it. Ratcliffe didn't tell him. Maybe he didn't. I don't know if it's Ratcliffe being silent. But I do believe that there is knowledge here that is about stopping Ukraine and the EU NATO Cartel Babylon. And we're going to see how this plays out. We need, of course, a special counsel immediately to come up and address this. And as people like Scott Ritter have said, he's ex-intelligence, he has said, we need what's called the Russia House assembled immediately by Ratcliffe to explain every operation that's going on in Russia, and to have this absolutely analyzed from every angle. But what I really think here is that what we're seeing here with a Five Eyes EU NATO attack, and especially putting U.S. explosives on the bridge in Crimea, is a constant, ongoing threat to drag the U.S. into a World War III scenario if they can poke the bear to hit a tactical nuke into Kiev. And what has Putin said? He said, we're going to basically, if you don't accept our deal, our peace memorandum deal, have elections and pull off your military, then we are going to just finish it. We're going to finish it. We're going to just come down, go through Ukraine, because as I said, Ukraine doesn't have the soldiers. They don't have the people. And that is Putin's tactic. It's if you wipe out the people, they can't fight the war. And Trump will not be bringing U.S. soldiers into the war. And if the EU, who is hell-bent on destroying their own countries, hell-bent, they just might. They just might. And the people will revolt. Okay? Germans are 100% against, or I'll say, 90% against the Ukraine war. They will not fight. We have Merz, the Chancellor of Germany, if he's not high on coke with Macron and Starmer. Zelensky looked like a pencil. He's like super skinny, so he's snorting. He's snorting. If they're all not high off their minds, okay, and Merz comes to the White House on Thursday, what's going to be happening? Because a lot of this, the intel coming through, is that so much of this Ukraine war with the MI6 and CIA has been operating out of Germany, okay? And so he knows what's up, and he has to come face Trump on Thursday, and maybe that we won't hear anything until after that meeting. I doubt it. I think, I know it's Wednesday tomorrow and I'll eat my words, but Trump usually trumps something. Okay. He usually comes up with some mega thing or very poignant, potent thing before the meeting. He comes out with it before the meeting to put the person on edge. It's how he does his business, it's how he negotiates. Is just, hey, we know this now. Let's put this out in the public and then let's have our meeting. And so we'll see what happens tomorrow. And if there is an announcement, if there is some information that comes out tomorrow, because we sure want to know. We sure want to know. And let's just see, we've got massive arrests supposedly coming out of Russia of who they're considering potential USB collaborators. That's happening. And yeah, we know that this supply chain of kamikaze drones had to have been inside job. And I still wonder how inside of a job was it, right? How inside of a job was it as Zelensky continued and continued and continued, and this is 18 months in the planning and all of this. I don't believe a word he says or they say. How much was known, how much wasn't known, and knowing that the situation here was for World War III, was this allowed to happen in order to show the world the massive intent to have World War III that these criminals are intent on, and the willingness to sacrifice the people of the EU, because that's who would be fighting this war if they continue. And so let's see. We've got, Medvedev, of course, spokesman out of Russia, who's always hard hitting. He said after the assaults, he said, that which needs to be destroyed will be destroyed, and those who need to be eliminated will be eliminated. And yeah, understandable considering these were Tia-style attacks. And so that's where I will leave it. It is an ongoing massive fight. We pray, for the God of victory to take down the evil ones, and keep yourself protected, your full armor of God, your swords out, because of course the devil always comes after those who are trying to do good. So, get in your own personal war room, where your prayers are just building up, and pray in groups, and pray for the protection of Trump and the team, and also, of course, the that God has His hand in exposing the evildoers in the Cartel Babylon, because the globalists, they're trying to rebrand, right? They're trying to rebrand. We've got Financial Times coming out, Wall Street Journal, and Larry Fink and all these a-holes coming out saying, oh, we need a friendlier, more respectful form of globalism, that we can entrap people into total totalitarian surveillance digital grid system. And, they're planning, they're plotting. We have a huge bankster total assault of the central banks of Europe and the US, just trying to crush the US economy. And Trump is fighting this massive thing with Besant and Hassett and Navarro and everybody to say, hey, give us the freaking tariffs. We need the money. We're saving a sinking, dying ship that was almost dead, almost sunk and drowned. We need these tariffs to go through. And so, yeah, that's where we're at. So, yeah, prayers are paramount. God is the God of abundance and looks upon the nation of the United States of America with huge pride in what has been the freest country with the most rights for humanity in the world in history. And so we pray for that to ongo and expand and just become a blossoming new incredible beacon on a hill of light, and that we can 100% embrace our incredible privilege that we have to live here and not waste the opportunity of this precious life that we've been given to absolutely do all we can to be part of this second AmRev, right, at this 250 years. Wow. what an accomplishment. We were almost sunk. And so don't take it for granted for any time at all. And thanks so much for watching. If you found something helpful about this video and you want to support the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. There's ways to do so below. It's always so appreciated. You make it possible. And of course, I have my great sponsor, c60evo.com/YAFTV. Use the code YAFTV for 10% off of this incredible antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, anti-big C, cleans out the mitochondria, goes through your blood-brain barrier, better cognition, better performance, less pain. Just an amazing thing. Mitochondrial health is everything. Cellular health is everything. It is the #1 anti-aging situation. MCT oil, super awesome, all organic. These are the capsules. I give away 2 bottles every month on this channel. And you can check it out at c60evo.com/YAFTV. Use the code YAFTV for 10% off. Or if you have ever contributed to the channel or want to do so tonight, you get 15% off with a different link and code sent to you. So thanks so much for watching, folks. You are free. And we're going to win. God has us. And so let's have each other, get active, take action, make calls. You are free. I'll see you tomorrow.